It's we like say some sort of currency also, because that's where the way we structure the platform also. Once you get paid into a wallet system, which is basically your phone number with us, and from there you can transfer whatever you earn into your bank account, buy airtime, and do a couple of stuff. So we'll let you know that okay, for X volume of say carton or plastic you have, this is the equivalent amount you could get paid in the bank.
Hello, Bolu. How are you?
I'm very well, Ravina. Trust you're good too.
All right. So, Scrapays, the name has it all. But if you would like to just tell our users, what does Scrapays actually do? And how is it helping towards making the community a better place to live in?
Okay, amazing. Thank you for the question, Ravina. Yeah, from your name, Scrapays, it's a combination of two things, scrap and payment, right? You're getting paid for your scrap. But the way we approach the problem is we've built digital infrastructure for the recycling value chain, which basically means that literally anybody can start up their own small recycling business. We call them agents. And on the other end, somebody like yourself, small businesses, some pop shop can also get paid for the recyclable waste. I like using two examples primarily. For example, I like say more or less like Airbnb for recyclables, where Airbnb within the hospitality sector was able to empower individuals to, run some sort of mini hotels with their apartments. We also allows, individuals to use a space in their compound, a shop along their streets to start up their own recycling business, basically with our technology and, their own space, right? And on the other hand, people can basically keep the waste they generate, their carton, their plastics, their, scrap metal, what have you, we collect across several material classes as we speak, and they're able to, properly get evaluated and get paid for that recyclable waste.
That's actually something that is needed right now, considering that we have a lot of regulations. There is a lot push towards recycling of plastic because it's becoming a huge, huge problem, right from the oceans to our bodies, in fact. So that's a very, very good initiative from your end. So I wanted to know what was the driving force, or what was like that one gap that you saw in the market that you felt like that's something that I need to tap into? Any driving force that led you to build Scrapays?
Things, and I'll speak to about two or three of them. The very first one is, a personal story, right? While I was quite younger, I experienced the very vivid impact of poor waste management, right? I mean, it says that the waterways were blocked and that led to flooding that eventually led to the death of a very young neighbor, right? So, which it's quite very painful. I studied geoscience and, I understand the impact of, these waste materials, also on the environment, right? And the impact, is super, super serious. We're talking about, carbon emissions and what have you, and leachate into the, groundwater and the soil. But outside of that, because of where I also grew up, I've, had real-time experiences with these people, informal recyclers, who, are literally, especially within the sub-Saharan Africa or even mostly developing nation, they are responsible for over 90% of the recovered recyclable waste. And the life that these people live, does not reflect the impact of the work that they do, right? I think myself and my co-founder, when we're doing some market research, met with somebody called Boluwatife who has been doing this business for well over 2 decades. And he struggles to send his kids to school. He still lives in a mud house. But we understand that this market is something really huge. And I like to say it. It's not the charity market. It's something that, has, the economic scale to impact people's life and didn't make earnings that are very much substantial. The core issue is that the value chain is extremely broken, and what we've been able to do is to give these people the right set of tools, operational support, and also exposure to ensure that they can properly manage their business, and also get connected to offtake markets easily. And for us, those are the key things that are very important in what we do.
That's very inspiring. And thank you so much for that answer. I'm going to pick up something from it. And like you said, that it's very important to have the right tools. But also when it comes to educating people about why they should go towards this, why they should, be a part of something which is so crucial. How does your company educate or motivate people?
Okay, so there are two sides to this, and I like to make it very clear. The very first side is the people who we are pairing with ability to do and operate recycling business, right? So either existing ones like anywhere that I mentioned, or new ones, because the beauty of the Scrapays model is today, you're having let's say you are living within a region whereby Scrapays is operational in,
Mhm.
you basically can the mobile app, go through our onboarding process, and you can start up your own recycling business. So you need not have, any prior understanding or experience within recycling ecosystem. That's what technology is, is tweaked for to ensure that literally anybody can start up their own mini recycling business. All right. So onboarding process ensures that we can educate, train you, and get you started. All right. On the other hand, people will like referring to as waste producers. Waste producers could range from an individual person who generates waste in their house, a family or household, right, to mom and pop, businesses, mom and pop shops who, sell provisions and what have you, to supermarkets, to large enterprises, that fabricate or construct. Right. So it's a very wide range. And because we tag them waste producers because those are the source of the recyclable waste from plastic waste to, paper, carton, and what have you across the material types that we recover and recycle, right? So on that end, we ensure that, we do advocacy, things, run online campaigns and what have you to let people know that, okay, what you generate is value. It's, we like say, some sort of currency also, because that's where the way we structure the platform also. Once you get paid into your wallet system, which is basically your phone number with us. And from there, you can transfer whatever you earn into your bank accounts, buy airtime, and do a couple of stuff. So we let you know that, okay, for X volume of, say, carton or plastic you have, this is the equivalent amount you could get paid in the bank, right? So also ensuring that the economic impact of what they have and also the environmental impact of what they have. So ensure that they are properly motivated and also informed, along that line.
Thank you so much for that answer.
Right.
Seeing that there's so many components to your business model. We have agents, we have people who are picking up the waste. So, what are the challenges that you faced while building the business? Or maybe is there a challenge that you currently face and that's something like you're working around?
Okay, yeah, I think if I will speak to just one or two, I think one of the key things because we operate within the sub-Saharan African market is the infrastructure deficit, right? On this one, I mean by that in the sense that I will start with the processing capacity. For us, strategies that we're a software, organization, right? That built, solutions for the recycling value chain. Yes, we understand that we're a value chain.
Right.
We have a value chain approach. We're not just dealing to one class of users from, you who generate the waste to the person who is doing the business, who is collecting and storing, down the value chain, right? But one of the key areas where there is heavy infrastructure deficit is the processing, area of the value chain, right? The processors don't have the right type of machineries, inventory take longer to process and the likes. And that's one of the key things we are solving for. We have, companies that have solved that in adjacent industries. For example, is Move that was able to provide, cars and all of that for the drivers and they, collect and repay for that over a while. That obviously means that we need to raise bigger rounds to be able to, support such or solve such problem. But we are, currently doing some very low level tests running with a few processors. And that's one of the key challenges we are solving. The same thing also with logistics, right? To ensure that this item could be moved properly. Because let me give you, a scenario. An agent who has expended, let's say, $800 or $1,000 to purchase, some of these items. Because it's a small business, so that person cannot stay too long before they are paid back their capital and their earnings. And if there is a problem with logistics or the processing part of things, it means that there are restrictions on their own end and they get frustrated. So along the value chain, it has its own ripple effect. And so that's why this particular class of, challenges we are facing are things that we're also working on to solve as fast as possible to ensure that the people who are doing this business can, smile and they are, working without so much operation friction.
Yes, I can imagine that that would be a part of it, but I think that that's something that with time would smoothen out. But looking at like Nigeria and how the country is really moving towards making sure that you achieve recycling of plastic. It's like the government is taking initiatives. For example, you have reverse vending machines. When the government initiative is taken, and let's say that there are existing players in the market, and how do you compete with what was already set in the play anode with your competitors? How do you manage that?
Okay, thank you, Ravina, for the question. Let me start with the government policies. Yes, because the space we play in is pretty new, right? So there are new policies and that are coming on, and the central goal usually would even with the government is to ensure that they support organizations like ourselves solving this problem. So in terms of policy wise, yes, a few things are just developing, but they are actually in the positive to also ensure that people know about these things and all of that. For competition, because of the way our model is structured, right? Most of what yeah traditionally we refer to as competition, in the long run actually, collaborators for us because they are we are more, along the value chain approach in the sense that we'll rather provide, software solutions for those people and they join the ecosystem of our network. So, for example, the people that refer to the processor, normally you could have referred to them as our competitors. So, the people traditionally you will have referred to as competitors in the actual scale of things that actually, collaborators along the value chain, right? That we are so,
And I wanted to know what, so if I look at the business from a global perspective, normally like companies which are into dealing with recycling or waste sorting, they then move towards waste to energy. That's probably the next step that they do. Is that something that is in the roadmap for Scrapays, or you feel that that's something that would align maybe not in the near future, maybe in the long term, or is that something that you're working on?
And let me take you a little bit back, right? Because the core problem is not what to do with the recyclable waste, right? Either waste to energy, if it's plastic, bottle to bottle, wherever, that's not the core of the problem. And I was given an example that for every material type that we collect, for our off-takers, locally or internationally, we're able to meet less than 10% of their, requests, right? Where the actual challenge is how do you build an effective structure and model that ensures that recyclable waste are recovered from source properly at scale, effectively building for to have, a decentralized ecosystem of recovering these recyclables from source. So today, for example, our plastic waste doesn't matter. It could be used for bottle to bottle, recycling. It could be used for, plastic to polyester fibers, plastics to, energy or what have you. That is extremely secondary. But if you cannot recover this waste in the most effective and scalable way, then those, that particular thing you want to do, either to energy, to you know, polyester fibers and what have you, would not materialize at scale. So for us, and that's what the Scrapace model is built on, to ensure that individuals are empowered to run their own mini recovery systems, right? So for example, if you live within a particular area, you can run and operate your own, business from there and recover items.
Thank you so much for that answer. So then, with so much going on and you've done so well, how do you maintain your mark?
Can you go over the question again? How do you maintain what?
How do you maintain? So I'm going
Okay, beautiful. So that's the secret to that lies in our model, right? Because we're not a traditional recycling firm. What we do is what refers to as, value share system, right? Which means that for every person within the recycling value chain earns a particular amount, right? And scrap is also earn a particular percentage, right? So which basically means that for every item that we recover and we, give to offtake partners or the, manufacturing partners that work with, scrappers earns a particular percentage of it. And also because we are a platform and a technology solution that people do transactions in our system, right? Which means for every transactions that also go on our system, we earn just like every, fintech or platform system, we earn a particular, percentage of that transaction or what have you. The same thing also applies to working capital finance and all of the, other elements of what we do. So those are, the verticals which, we earn revenue.
Thank you so much for that answer. And I would like to know that
Yeah.
as a founder, what was like the main challenge that you felt? A personal challenge. Because building something, like working on a business model, every day is not like everything is going right. And then there's so many challenges. The personal challenges and then there are people oriented challenges. So what was that one driving factor that keeps you going?
Well, okay. I would say it's just vision, right? If you know what you set out to do, and as a founder, I think that's one of the key things that keep you going. Yeah, it's tough, right? You are very high today, and something happens or something's not going too well, you are almost at the base, right? Very, I don't know the English of, I can't remember the name now. Very volatile, emotional position
Ups and
whereby
downs.
you're so much, yeah, and yeah, really it is what it is. But I think one key thing that also keep you positioned is vision of what you set out to do, right? What you want to achieve, right? And that's puts you in shape. Yeah, there will be times whereby just come on, this is so hard and all of that. But I think that also just keep you in check.
So what would be like
Okay.
the motivating thing? Because as a founder, I'm sure that there are many ups and downs. And some days you feel very either you're moving against the wind. So what is that one thing that keeps you going on?
Okay, I think to summarize and scrape every thing off is the vision and what you set out to do, right? And think outside of that also is the impact that you are where that somebody just got paid because they are doing this business. Somebody who normally would have been struggling, and that okay, their life progressively is changing economically, and you can see it, you can track that, right? It's tangible. You can see, who is earning this, who is doing that, right? And that also gives you some sort of, strength and notes to say, okay, yes, this is heavily important people, and it's also shifted, post-economic perspective.
Thank you so much for that answer, Paras. Is there something that has recently happened at Scrapays that you would like to tell us about? Like I read about
Oh,
your
yeah, go ahead. Let
I
me
read
finish. Let me let you finish your question.
all right. So if there's something, I'll put it out for you. If there's something at Scrapays that you would like to tell us about that's recently happened and it's huge for Scrapays.
Oh, okay. Yes, I think just to give very summarized highlight, I think for us will be some of the features in terms of our product that we're able to push out, things around our LLM system for household waste. So basically means that we're able to effectively recover
Oh, you
what
froze again.
refers to as compost. I'm
So,
frozen
I'm
again.
sorry. Hello. Exactly issue. Unable to connect camera. In between the. Hey, left. I see. I'm so sorry. There was some internet problem for on the Riverside platform, and I just lost you in between.
Yeah, same here too. Oh, can you hear me now? Hello?
Yeah, I somebody from my team to come and help me out with this. I'm so sorry for
Okay.
that, but I was logged out. So I think there was something
Okay.
from Riverside's problem. Yeah. So yeah, I was asking you that if there's something big that has happened at Scrapays. Like I was I was reading a bit about what you've done recently, and I saw that you were granted funds by I think Unilever or EY. I may be wrong in that.
The FCD. Okay, yeah, I think on that end, yes, that currently contributed to our current fundraise that we're looking to close within the quarter, right? Which something very significant and would help us achieve some milestone that we've set out to do. I think on that side, internally, product wise, also with what we've achieved on we're currently fine tuning is an LLM system for what refers to as household items. Think of your bad AC, your bad refrigerator, that are recyclable, but you cannot just kill them, right? So we built, an internal system that ensures that we can easily evaluate that using a combination of LLM system and some internet database that we're building upon. So for example, that your bad AC, you want to you answer some specific questions, the horsepower and what have you. You're able to say, okay, this particular 2 horsepower AC would be worth, let's say, $10, $15 or something like that. And people can also get paid for their household, recyclable waste. So it's something that we're also still fine tuning. But yeah, those are significant highlights for us product wise, because for us the first thing is to ensure that we build effective system that ensures that we can recover waste easily and also ensure that people earn effectively also from their own recyclable waste.
Okay, that's beautiful. There is one more question that I want to ask, and it's with respect to how Scrapays is helping people economically. But from a business point of view, there are a lot of companies who are dealing with unmet sustainability goals, especially when governments are asking them, like their EPR laws, extended producer responsibility laws, where these companies are going to be held responsible for the waste that is collected because of their plastic. So I believe that Scrapays can play a huge role for these companies because that they're
Yeah,
already strong.
yeah, and you're spot on. I think that's one of the key things that we're also working on, which is we could also tie what you're speaking to things around carbon credit, plastic credits, and what have you for, organizations within that area. Yes. And I think more advocacy still needs to be done along that line. But yeah, it's one of the key things. Practically, that's what Scrappage does to ensure that, for example, assuming that we are, recycling waste from, say, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, and what have you, right? Yeah, there's be thinking around that. Same thing with carbon and plastic credits and all of, for example, some of the electronic waste that we also, recycle the producers and all of that, needs to be some sort of sinking. And yeah, it's still at the early stages, but yeah, there are things along that line.
Have I heard that right? That PepsiCo and Coca-Cola, like, they have partnered with you for this, or that's something that can be done in the future?
Yeah, it can be done.
All right. So have you made any plans of expanding, like expanding up?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, Nigeria is a very big market. So we're just in a few states. With these our current fundraise, we expect, to cover and expand, our reach within the Nigerian markets. Later, because what we do primarily, as I like to say, is applicable within developing nations. But of course, we are starting within the sub-Saharan African markets. But the same, problem and challenge and similar terrain, yeah, not exactly, identical, but very similar is applicable within the Southeast Asia markets, Latin American markets, right? Basically, developing economies, right? Similar challenges and similar model we could be using just region and we've, had some initial conversations, most especially for other, countries within the Sub-Saharan African markets.
Well, I think that it's not going to play just a big role in developing nations, but also in nations which are already developed. Because in the US, they have the system in place, they have the value chain in place. But the major issue is educating people about how to correctly dispose of waste. So then they go into labeling of the product. And if you see a certain label, that means it has to go into the compostability bin. Or if there's a recyclable label, it has to go into the recyclable bin. So they are facing an issue of how to educate the people and then how to make sure that it is correctly disposed of. It doesn't go into the landfills, so that the compostable material goes into the composting facilities, and then the recyclable material goes into the recycling facilities. So I think Scrapays can really play a big role in. You don't need to educate the people. People just need to call somebody, like use the interface, and that's it. The rest of the work is done. And also,
Correct. Yeah. I think lens of viewing things is where will our work as the most
okay.
right? And yeah, that's why we usually our focus is within developing nations because we know that yes, you could have, let's say, 2x impact within the US, but you have 100x impact in these regions and areas that are actually really fighting and facing this challenge. The sub-Saharan Africa records less than 4% of recycling rates, right? Recovery of recycling rates, which is huge compared to about I think about 32% in Europe or something like that. So the margin is really, really, really large. And that's less with which we view these things from.
Okay. All right. That makes sense as well. So I think India is developing, so your company can help us, because we're facing the same issue here, and it can be a win-win situation for the environment as well as for people over here as well. So yeah, I
Right.
think Scrapays is going to fill a very large gap in the society. That is true.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Thank you so much, Ravina.
Thank you so much for your time. And I enjoyed learning about Scrapays and what you were doing and your commitment towards making sure that this turns into something fruitful, which it already is, but it expands and continues to grow. So thank you so much for your time, Bolu.
Thank you so much.